What's up, team? It's Joe Mill back at you here with Killer Miller Q. I got a special cook for you today, especially while meat prices is high. We're going to come in low, but I guarantee you it's still going to turn the party out, and it's going to be packed full of flavor. We'll be doing a bacon wrapped pork loin. Stay tuned. If you haven't seen it before, you're going to like it. So you probably walked by Costco or something like that and seen one of these before. This is the boneless pork loin, and didn't quite know what to do with it or kind of what to get going with it. This is what we're going to work with today. It's a cheap cut of meat. I mean, right here, this one is almost 7.5 pounds, almost 8 pounds. This was $16, actually $15.58. So at the end of the day, you're gonna be able to get a great meal for your family and be able to also take some pork chops off of the side, because what we're gonna be doing is cutting it down to get to the middle and the even portion, and then we'll end up with some pork chops that you can put to the side for later or marinate and put on the grill the same day. So it's a good meal all the way around. Let's go through the things that you're gonna need for today's cook. Like always, we got your trusty cutting board. You wanna have your big kitchen knife or your boning knife for the closer areas. I always want to use on the pork and some of the more delicate things, I'm going to be using my actual wireless thermometer, and I'll be kind of monitoring it along the way, as well as I also double check at the back end with the instant read. We're going to also, like I said, it's a bacon wrapped pork loin, so give me a pack of bacon. And keep in mind, instead of getting the good bacon, I normally usually use Costco bacon, just get some general grocery store bacon. A lot of times it's a little bit thinner, it's got a little bit more fat on it. It actually works a little bit easier when you're wrapping it. Also, make sure you keep all of this nice and cold. We're going to be using your rack, and that's what we're going to be transporting it in and kind of keeping it together, so that way we don't tear up that wrap and everything and that weave once we put it together. And then as far as the seasons that we're going to be using today on this pork loin, we're going back to pretty much the same idea what I do on my ribs a lot of times. I like Mr. Malcolm over there at How to Barbecue Right, and we're going to start off with a little bit of his AP seasoning, and then we're going to finish it off with the barbecue rub, as it's always got good color. So what I'm going to do is I'll bring you in close, I'll let you see a little bit of the trim that we're going to do, and then from there, we'll go ahead and get it going. All right, now we're in close. Let's check this thing out. So basically, we're looking at the more the meatier side of this pork loin. This is already a pretty lean cut of meat, so there's not a whole lot of fat on here. So there's really not a whole lot I'm gonna do as far as getting this thing ready to go. If I flip it over though, this is the fattier side, which you can kind of see here. It's got a nice little layer of fat on it, and a lot of it, or some of it, is like actually some silver skin. If you can kind of see that in there. That's the stuff that I want to get rid of. I want to be able to at least get my rub on top of the meat like always, and not have that barrier, that silver skin, that little bit of fat just kind of waiting there. Plus on the end of it, even though this is a pretty lean cut of meat, what we're going to be doing is wrapping this with bacon, so that's going to be showering me with a lot of good fat and a lot of good flavor. So I'm not too worried about the little bit that I'm going to get off. So I'm going to trim that back, like I said, clean this up a little bit and get this down to pretty much where everything looks nice and meaty. And then the other big thing, and this one, while it isn't too bad, in general, usually as you get towards the end, it gets a little bit thinner, and in the middle is usually kind of your thicker areas. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cutting this more towards the areas where it's symmetrical. We'll take more or less this middle, and then what I'll do is I'll take the edges and then we'll chop those up, and then we'll have some pork chops that we can put to the side, like I was saying, and marinate, or you can throw them on the grill with your cook today. So I'm going to clean this up. I'll bring you right back in. Okay, so we got that knocked out. So kind of now that we done cleaned off a little bit of that silver skin, got a little bit of that fat out the way, you can see we got all this good meat exposed. And now I'm just kind of looking at more or less what's the shape of mine. And like I said, normally the ends are a little bit smaller and it's fatter in the middle. But truthfully, as I look at mine, I feel like I'm pretty even and uniform as I go along. And then right around here-ish, it starts to break down and I get some different sizes. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to keep mine as, like I said, I don't need it to be too big. I'm thinking I'm probably making my cut roughly about right here. And this is going to be my loin that we're going to bake and wrap. So that way we'll have this one here to be bacon wrapped, and what I'm going to be doing from here is I'm going to be going ahead and I'll be chopping the rest of this all the way up into some pork chops that I'm going to put to the side. And for me, I'm actually going to save this for a later date, and today we're going to be working with that. And before I get rid of it, I want to at least let you see what it kind of looks like. Just to give you an idea, this is less than $16 worth of meat, and look what we're going to have here. We're going to end up with that whole bacon wrapped pork rind, or pork loin right here, and then look how many pork chops we got here. I usually cut them probably a good inch or so thick. These are actually going, when you actually cook them, they'll shrink down a little bit, but I mean, you can see that's good lean meat. At the end of the day, it won't hurt you too much, but for $16, you end up with a couple meals for the family. You can't beat it. So next, now what we're going to do is we're going to come back. We're going to be working with this Killer Hogs AP seasoning. We want a super light layer, and I'll let you even see me get mine applied as I pull you back out. You don't need much on there because we're going to really get it flavored by the bacon that's going to be on it, but we want to give it a little something just to have a little flavor. So we're going to get a light coat of that on, and then I'll walk you through exactly how I go ahead and wrap my bacon on. It's a little bit easier than doing a bacon weave, but we'll get it together. Okay, team, I want you to see exactly how I'm going to do this. So we got your pork loin sitting here. We got that basic, I don't want to say cheap store bacon, but I mean at the end of the day, it's not the expensive stuff. This right here is just some traditional bacon, some hickory smoked bacon that I got from Fry's or Kroger, your local grocery store, nothing too spectacular. So we're going to start with this pork loin. I got my Killer Hogs AP, and I'm just going to hit it with a light coat all over. And if I don't hit a spot, I'll be all right. I'm not really too worried. Light something on the sides. Strictly, I won't even worry about the tops. I'll get it right off the board. I just need a little something on here so we got a little bit of flavor. So I'll let it roll back and forth and just kind of get some of this that I got already right here. And that's more than enough for what I want to do to it. One of the other little tips that I'll give you to make this a lot easier process is with that bacon, make sure along the way, keep that bacon in the refrigerator. When it's colder, it actually works a lot better. It'll actually stay there longer and it won't get all to the point where it's gooey. What I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be bringing out my rack, because what I want to do is I'm gonna build this on the rack. So that way, once I get this looking nice and pretty, I don't have too much issues. So pretty simple. I know a lot of people do the bacon weave, which I definitely think looks great, but I've never taken the time to get it done, I'll be honest with you. But this right here does pretty good, which is just your general. So I'm gonna start, make sure that you overlap these pretty heavy, which is the key. I like to get all my meat sitting on top of each other and then overlap the fat areas. And I'm pretty much making meat at the bottom, so I'm not gonna be using any pin or toothpicks or pins, anything like that. Pretty much I'm just gonna let it rest on itself and I'll get it from there. So kind of stretch that bacon out just a little bit, let it lay, and then lift it on one side, lift it up on the other. Okay? Pretty easy, nothing too crazy. We'll take that bacon with the meat side, cover up the majority half of the flat, lift one side, tuck it under. I'm gonna lift the other side and tuck it under. Okay, and then we're just gonna keep going all the way down until we got this thing wrapped pretty tight. Oh, almost got a double piece of bacon. We'll make sure we get it wrapped pretty tight, and then also make sure, like I said, you got a pack of bacon. I like to pretty much I like to use about a pack on the cook, so you don't got to be stingy. Make sure you got a great overlap. It'll help them hold a lot better, and on the back end, it'll make your bacon hold on there a lot tighter and be a nice little addition. As I tell you, it comes out to be pretty flavorful. I'll bring you back when I get this all wrapped up, and I'll let you see what it looks like before we go ahead and season it up. Hold tight, team. All right, and that's what it looks like. Like I said, these are pretty much the meat pieces. Like I was saying, I like to try to get to at least about halfway through, cover up all of this like whiter area or the fatter area. So pretty much you're gonna have a lump of meat, a lump of meat, a lump of meat. When this actually goes ahead and it'll start actually cooking, you'll actually get this thing to lock in pretty tight automatically on its own. And then with that said, it'll also look nice and pretty on the back end. The other thing I wanted to bring you in close in was just to show you what I did with them pork chops. Now easily right here, one step you can do to help yourself in the quick future is you can go ahead and throw a little bit of olive oil and season these babies up, get them all ready, season them however you choose, and then pretty much let them sit. And then from there, you can go ahead and freeze them, and they'll be already pre-seasoned and already somewhat marinated when you bring them out of the freezer and get ready to cook. cook them, or you can just set them to the side. I didn't season these. I'm gonna leave them normal because I don't know what I want to cook when I actually get to it. But this is this bacon wrapped. I did already kind of hit the bottom of it before I put it on here. Pretty much all I did was give it a flip over real quick, hit a little bit of light on the bottom just so I can get a little bit of color there. And I'm gonna pull you out so you can actually see how we dust this thing off on the top. And we're gonna be using the barbecue rub by Malcolm Reed. Now this one, you don't got a whole lot of salt in it or anything like that. It's really a nice taste and flavorful rub. It's gonna give us a nice pretty color, so we can go pretty heavy. I want to make sure I get these corners and sides all taken care of and make sure I get a nice pretty coat over the top. And I'm gonna let this sit. We already got our pit over here coming up to temp, so it's ready to rock. We got it cleaned up the other day, so this should be a good cook. Okay, so this season is gonna be pretty easy. Like I said, pretty much what I did was I lifted it over really quick, knocked out one side. As long as you're pretty quick with it, your bacon won't move too much. But then just take yourself, when you kind of have both of my hands wrapped up, take your time and then shape it a little bit. You know, we want to get this into a nice, even, uniform shape. Make sure your bacon's sitting exactly where you want it to be. And, you know, just kind of think of it as a nice cake that's about to go out there into the oven. But now we're going to go ahead and kind of get this thing evened up and get a nice coat of this rub on here. I love this Malcolm Reed barbecue rub. It's savory. Like I said, it doesn't have a ton of sugar on it, so it's great to kind of top things off. I use these all the time with my ribs, the same type of a method, with a little bit of the light AP on there, and then finishing up with the barbecue rub on top, and they always come out great, and it also has some great color to it. I mean, just the smell coming off of here is phenomenal. And what I'm doing is I'm just using my hand to kind of side pat to get these sides a little bit, and to make sure that we get it even looking more or less all throughout. That's pretty much it. Now all I'm gonna do is take a time to, like I said, pat it together, make sure everybody's nice and happy and we marry nice and tight. Make sure my bacon's in there folded nice and tight the way I want it to be. And again, the reason I like using this rack is it's gonna hold my position. I don't gotta worry about when I transport it in and out of the cooker, you know, if it falling apart, my bacon moving around or anything like that. I'm gonna just be able to grab the rack. I can rotate it along the way as I'm cooking it. But then also when I'm all done, I can pull it out, let it rest, and then be able to take it off of here, put it on a cutting board, and give me some nice pretty slices. So that's pretty much it. We're gonna get this thing and let it rest for a little bit, and let this all come together and marry. Maybe a good 15-20 minutes, and we're on the pit. Hold tight, team. We're about to make it happen. All right, team, we're gonna get back in here to the magic now. We've been rolling along, and I just threw this baby in, but I at least want to show you exactly where we ended up. So you can see exactly what we're looking like going into the pit and in the beginning. So, like I said, I love that rack. Easy movement. I put the side that I thought was a little bigger towards the fire. I'm pretty much in my sweet spot, or so I feel, in my pit. And then as far as my probe, I threw that probe right in the middle. From there, we're gonna be cooking today, and I'm gonna keep it kind of low. We're gonna go around 225. I want to make sure that we got plenty of time, because this is, again, a lean piece of meat. We only looking to go to about 165 internal temp for this pork. So I want to make sure that it's got time to catch a little bit of that smoke, and then that way also my bacon can crisp up and get nice and rendered. So that's the plan. We'll be monitoring that internal temp until we get to about 165, rolling along at 225. I'm gonna bring you along the way and get a couple looks as we spritz along the way with just some straight apple cider. A straight apple juice. And from there, we're gonna have a good cook. All right, so we've been rolling along more or less 45 minutes at 225. Got my new log in there, it's nice and caught. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock that down. Like I always say, this is a good time when you're about to do you a check to go ahead and get you a log in there and get it fired up. Leave that box open, and that way you can start to work on nothing but that clean smoke coming. There we go. We looking pretty, baby. We looking pretty. For those that's trying to keep up with it, like I said, we've been kicking at about 225, and it's been about 45 minutes. Beautiful color. Like I said, a lot of that is that rub, and I feel like everything that comes out on this Lone Star give me that nice pretty red color, and I always get a good smoke. I don't want to hit it too hard, but I know that comes out with a real good flavor. That's nothing but a straight apple juice on that spritz that I'm using. And we're gonna close it right back down. We'll see you on the next one. All right, team, we still smoking along. We at 225. It's internal temps around 119. It's about an hour and 15 minutes in, and I had to get a log in here, so I figured I'd bring you in to get a quick look. Still looking beautiful. Along with let's get a quick spritz on here with this apple juice. You see that color come alive once you hit it with that apple juice. Just a light one. We don't want to knock that rub off, but you can tell it's locked in now. This is going to also give us a nice little sweet layer on top with that seasoning. You'll like it. Alright, we're looking good. Like I said, we're at 119. We need to get to internal temp about 165. I'll come back in another half. Alright, team, let's finish this thing off. It's been about 3 hours. We smoking right along. I kicked it up to about 250 to end it off. Oh yeah, 250 to end it off. Where's my little stat? There we go. Just to kick me up a little bit in temperature. Now I stick with a little bit of low temperature. Like I said, this is a longer cook, but I wanted to make sure I got a little smoke in there. You see how good she looking. Keeping it around 225. Sometimes even drop down to about 215 along the way. But part of the reason was I recently just cleaned the grill, just put some mineral oil on the outside, so I wanted to keep my temps low for a little bit, and I wanted to get some good smoke flavor in there. Then towards the back end, after 2 hours, I figured I'd go ahead and kick up that temperature to about 250, and we went ahead and polished it off. So right now I'm coming out with my internal temp on my wireless probe at about 165. So let's see what we look like on a thermopen. Regardless, it should be decent, as once it kind of gets a second to rest, it'll go ahead and probably kick up a little bit more. Let's try a little of the piece back here. See, this is part of the reason why I always like to double check it. So I got 158 back there compared to I'm getting 165 in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this keep going a little bit longer. I'm gonna rotate it around, and then we'll come back and we'll finish it out. All right, team, we there. It was about a little over 3 hours, about 3 hours and 15 minutes. We were rolling along about 225, kicked it up to 250 there on the back end, but we got to the back of the cook, and I think you're gonna be impressed. Like I said, this is that $20 holla. Between the bacon and that whole pork loin, you're gonna probably end up with an easy 3 meals for your family. Good bang for your buck. I think you'll be impressed. If you haven't, take a second and hit that bottom right corner, like and subscribe, and keep on following along with the cooks. But let's check out what we did today. Woohoo, there she is. Check it out. We got a nice looking red color from front to back. Pretty even looking. You can see our weave held up nice and tight. That's why you like to do that nice overlapping. But let's dig into this and see what we got here. So I'm gonna go ahead, and usually I'll cut these kind of thin. This already rested about 15 minutes or so. There we go. So at least I like it when our bacon doesn't just fall off and fall apart. And even though we didn't do the actual bacon weave, you can see we holding on there pretty tight once you let it rest and everything. Had to break one. Okay, let's give it a taste. So you see what we got here? See a nice little smoke ring in there. Good bacon taste. Can't go wrong. Malcolm's undefeated. Give this recipe a try. We got another winner here at Killer Miller Q. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you catch the next cook. Peace.